Deputy Dessie Ellis, Minister of State.
Regulation of the taxi industry, including issues pertaining to the 9-year vehicle age limit, is a matter for the National Transport Authority under the provisions of the Public Transport Regulation Act 2009, following the review which I chaired last year. A public consultation was carried out by the NTA in 2011 concerning vehicle standards, in particular issues around the vehicle age and size. The outcome of the NTA consultation on vehicle standards was also made available to the Taxi Regulation Review Group as part of its deliberations concerning a wide range of matters concerning the taxi sector, including the safety of SPSV vehicles for the travelling public. The review report sets out the proposals of the review group with regard to vehicle standards. Action 10 of the review report proposes that for existing vehicles in the fleet prior to the 1st of January 2009, those vehicles will be allowed to operate up to 14 years of age. This is subject to the passing of a roadworthiness NCT test and an NTA licence renewal assessment at 6 monthly intervals where the vehicle is 9 years old or above. Regulations under Section 18 of the Road Traffic Act 1961 will be met by my department in this regard in consultation with the Road Safety Authority, which has responsibility for NCT testing. This approach will allow many licence holders time to adjust to the new arrangements, and it will work out cheaper than replacing the car outright, as was proposed previously. Also, feedback from consumers, which we must listen to, is that vehicle standards and safety was something that they were very concerned about. It is envisaged that over a period of time, vehicles over 9 years will gradually transition out of the fleet. In considering these matters, the review group was conscious of the need to ensure an effective balance between the provision of a high quality and safe service to the public and the interests of taxi drivers with a long-term commitment to the industry. It is hoped that the 6 monthly NCT testing of vehicles aged between 9 and 14 years, as proposed in the review report, will be commenced in tandem with the new vehicle standards to be introduced by the NTA, which is on the 1st of January 2013.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Dessie Ellis.
Thanks very much, Minister. And I think there has been a lot of good ideas put up in the taxi regulation review, and I certainly agree with a lot of them. But there are a number of them that I don't agree with. And I suppose the main issue for the taxi industry at the moment is one of oversupply and proper enforcement. And the plan to phase out the 9 years or older over a period of time is to suggest that we operate differently than other countries in Europe and in America. We have taxis, the yellow taxis in America, some of them are 20 and 30 years old. There's the black cabs in the north here, and we've also got them in England. And they have a proper testing system. And we have a system here. We have an NCT test. We have another test.
Question, please.
And there is, well, the question is that this is going to put a huge amount of extra burden on taxi drivers. Many of them who are getting on in age, and they will be forced to change their vehicles. There will also be rules in terms of every 6 months after the 9 years that they will have to have a test. More cost on taxi industry, and an industry that's struggling. And there's a continuation of different charges starting to develop in the taxi industry, which is pushing people out. We do want to push the people out, the rogues and the people that are messing up the whole industry and are abusing the system. And there's no doubt about that. And it's all about health and safety, and nobody disputes that.
I'll call the Minister, and I'll get back to you, Deputy, then.
Well,
when I call the Minister to reply. Okay, we only have 6 minutes for the two.
Thank you, Deputy, and I'm absolutely delighted to hear that you support the majority of the review group. It's refreshing to hear that. The changes that have been brought about as regards the 9-year rule and, by extension, allowing it in 14 years in certain circumstances, actually recognises the situation that many taxi drivers find themselves in. And I know it's a very difficult situation. I don't think any minister who's standing in my position has met with taxi drivers as often as I have met with them throughout this report phase. I think it's crucial, though, that along with that we take into consideration what is palpable amongst consumer groups, that they want to be in cars that they recognise as being safe. And it's essential that we have conditions that will show that these cars are safe. We don't want to be seeing any issues in relation to the safety standards of these cars affecting public confidence in the use of the taxi industry. And taxi drivers themselves will tell you that. That's why it's important that there is 6-month intervals for NCT testing for those cars that are within the 9 to 14 years. And I'd just like to point out to the Deputy that in relation to the changes that the committee which I chair did bring about on this issue, the majority of the taxi groups were very much supportive of the changes.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Ellis.
Well, I'll just, Minister, I was in the Council and in Dublin City Council. I brought this to the Council when I was on the Council, and your own councillors across the board supported this idea of not having a 9-year rule. So that was a couple of years ago on the Council. But in Action 10, which you mentioned earlier, and this clearly outlines the reason why this is being done. And it basically says that the system was based on vehicle inspection and mileage, and that it was too expensive to develop and operate. We've been operating this system for many years, and we haven't had the complaints, and we haven't had the reason to change the system. But I also want to ask the Minister, is it your intention to put all the car testing of taxi vehicles over to the RSA? Is that part of the plan down the road? Because the RSA is virtually getting everything that the local authorities have. So I just would like to know if you could answer that.
I call the Minister to reply.
In relation to the latter question, there has been no firm decisions made in that area, but it is something that has been looked into at the moment. But I just want to reaffirm to the Deputy in relation to the changes that have been brought about, as if there is some new idea that the taxi drivers, didn't speak about the requirement to change the 9-year rule previous. The drivers that we met understood that consumers required to have confidence in their vehicles. The consumer groups who were on the committee actually stated out quite clearly that they expected a very, very modern fleet. And taking all that on board and taking on board the financial difficulties that the drivers found themselves in, this is the compromise that was reached. And I think it's a compromise that is very welcome, and it is a compromise that was welcomed by both consumer groups and by the taxi industries. It does recognise those drivers who have cars, who are in the industry many years, as it's preceding 2009, and generally many of them are full-time drivers, and they are allowed to hold on to their cars for 14 years. I think this is a very effective and good compromise. But having said that, it does instill confidence with consumers, because they can know that they have to pass the standards test and have to pass an NCT test every 6 months, which I think is totally appropriate.
Thank you, Minister. Number 3.